Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another video. Ever since the Obi-Wan Kenobi series was first announced, a point of speculation has been whether or not we'll finally get to see, or rather hear, Qui-Gon Jinn's Force voice instruct Obi-Wan on Tatooine. At the end of Revenge of the Sith, Yoda told Obi-Wan that Qui-Gon had communicated with him from the netherworld of the Force, and on Tatooine, Qui-Gon would teach Obi-Wan how to become a Force ghost himself during his exile. So let's go back a bit. Before his death in the Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon had been learning how to become a Force ghost, the path to immortality from the Whills, but his death at the hands of Darth Maul meant he never got to complete his training, so he could only partially present to the living as a Force voice rather than a fully fledged Force ghost. The only exception to this was on Mortis. His greater power to do so on this planet may have been related to the strength of the Force on Mortis, as we saw in the Clone Wars episode Overlords. But even though Qui-Gon never completed his training, he was able to successfully teach Obi-Wan and Yoda how to become Force ghosts when their time would come. We've always wanted to see Qui-Gon Jinn communicate to his former apprentice through the Force, but the nature of the time gap between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope never allowed it. But now that the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is on the horizon and is set right between episodes 3 and 4, 10 years after episode 3 and 10 years before A New Hope, we finally have the perfect opportunity to see this happen. I would say there's a very good chance that Liam Neeson lent his voice for the series, no matter how coy he likes to play it for the press. But what if we don't get him? In this video, I want to explore why we might not hear Qui-Gon at all in the Kenobi series, at least until the very end. So strap in, let's dive into it. If you ever read the Legends Kenobi novel, you might already know where I'm going with this video. If not, let me recap, and major spoilers in case you want to read the novel for yourself. In the novel, Obi-Wan Kenobi tries to reach out to Qui-Gon through the Force, and throughout the book there's a build-up of meditation sessions, and while you're reading the book, you're expecting it to end with Qui-Gon finally responding, except he never does. This came as a massive surprise to me and many other readers, but I understand exactly what John Jackson Miller was trying to achieve. Even though it never happens in the book, you know that ultimately Qui-Gon would respond to Obi-Wan. I think the author omitted this because he was also trying to be respectful of Qui-Gon Jinn's character and leaving it up to the reader's imagination of what that conversation would be like. So I think in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, the same sort of thing might happen, but with a big twist. Throughout the series, they should have Obi-Wan try to communicate with Qui-Gon just like in the book, and make the audience think that Qui-Gon is not going to respond, but right at the very end, imagine if Qui-Gon whispers his name. That would be a very powerful way to wrap up the series, while also doing justice to the prequel fan favourite. Now, do I think this is the route they're going to take? Honestly, I don't know. If I had it my way as a prequels fan, I would hope we get a lot more Qui-Gon than just one small vocal cameo. I would love if he guided Obi-Wan on multiple occasions throughout the series, but I suppose time will tell. Now, I've been basing a lot of this on the notion that Qui-Gon is just going to be a Force voice, but it is possible that he completed his training after death. While we don't know if this is possible in canon, there's nothing that discredits it. If he did complete his training to become a Force ghost after death, it might create a plot hole for the end of Return of the Jedi. Where was he? But I think if he is able to manifest fully as a Force ghost as he did on Mortis, I think fans would be more than ecstatic to see him in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series as a fully fledged Force ghost. But whichever way it happens, I think Qui-Gon does need to appear in some capacity in Obi-Wan Kenobi. In fact, he's an essential plot point for this stage in Obi-Wan's life. Obi-Wan is on Tatooine contemplating everything that's passed. The Clone Wars have long ended. He's alone and processing a lot of trauma from what happened to his apprentice and all of the other people that he cared about. In his solitude, we'll probably see Obi-Wan struggling a lot with his PTSD, and I think Qui-Gon's guidance will play an essential part of his life at that stage. The Kenobi series is our first live-action show directly linked to the prequels, and I suppose you can't have an Obi-Wan series without Qui-Gon being acknowledged. The way Qui-Gon will appear is not yet known, and as I say, there is a chance he doesn't. But if the latter is the case, they will have wasted such a golden opportunity. But I trust the judgment of Deborah Chow, and I think we're in for an amazing series that does justice to these legacy characters and will take their stories to the next level. As you guys know, Obi-Wan Kenobi is the show I'm most looking forward to. I grew up on the prequels, in particular Revenge of the Sith, and this series means so much to me and so many of you guys because I've seen your comments on my Obi-Wan Kenobi videos. Now, even though we only saw Qui-Gon Jinn in one film, The Phantom Menace, there is so much literature out there, including novels and comics, which expands upon the journeys of young Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn prior to episode 1. And if you're like like me and you read those novels and comics and Qui-Gon means a lot to you, then him appearing in Obi-Wan Kenobi in some capacity is going to be huge. But as I say, there's a good chance we don't get him until the very end of the series, and you know what? I think I'm okay with that. Obi-Wan Kenobi's story arc in the Skywalker saga was really interesting, but arguably his biggest challenge is still to come between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope after the rise of the Empire. We know from a few leaks that he will have something to do with Princess Leia on Alderaan, but we don't know where else the series is going to take us. But essentially the time frame that he spends on Tatooine is going to be key. We need to see his transformation to old Ben Kenobi and get an insight into his psyche, his personal struggles, and the reflections that both change him and eventually allow him to make peace with everything that's transpired. The sort of peace that allows him to let go in A New Hope and sacrifice himself so that Luke and his friends can get away. But a lot of that making peace with himself undoubtedly comes from meditation sessions during his exile, some of which he'll spend trying to contact Qui-Gon. It's just a case of whether or not Qui-Gon is going to answer him or not in the Kenobi series. But it's definitely going to be very interesting. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think Qui-Gon Jinn is going to appear in some capacity in the Kenobi series? And do you think he's going to play a vital role in Obi-Wan's development in the show? Let me know that and all of your thoughts of today's video in the comments down below. As we know, Obi-Wan Kenobi should be coming out next year, hopefully earlier in the year, and because the series is now all wrapped up and in post-production, there's a good chance that on Disney Plus Day on November 12th, we could get some sort of poster or first look at the Kenobi series. That would be amazing, but again, I think that's being hopeful. But Ewan McGregor is back, Hayden Christensen is back, and we have so much amazing content to look forward to. So as I say, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and also if you're feeling generous, please consider becoming a patron. The link is down there in the description, and you get exclusive access to videos that are not found here on YouTube, and you also get access to my Discord server. But otherwise, my dear friends, may the Force be with you. I'm Star Wars Meg, wishing you a phenomenal rest of the day, no matter where you dwell in the galaxy. Have a good one.